You're listening to Season 14 of the Virtual Tailgate, a media bullcrap production covering college football in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm Andrew. Joining me, as always, we've got David.
Fellas, are you familiar with the Shandorian curse? It happened in 1945 when the Shandor Mining Company, located in the town of Somerville, had to close after miners began jumping down the mine shaft to their deaths with no rhyme or reason why. The reason this company existed? To mine an essential mineral known as selenium. The atomic number of selenium? 34.
Also joining us tonight, we've got Geoff.
Well, we've all been there before, guys. This is a, that maybe you're settling down for the evening. You get ready to shower before you go to bed, and then all of a sudden the gurgle says you, right? Maybe you just had to stop off at the Pedro Habanero burritos and tacos, but you just had to get in the shower beforehand, and now you have to you're at that epic moment where you have to decide, do I complete the shower and do the reverse poop after I shower, or do I go ahead and hop out and do the business here? And it's a very contentious decision that you may have to come to, but you know what, guys, there's always a solution to this. And if you are ever in this situation, you can always be safe and know that as long as you're wearing Tecovas work boots, you will at least be able to walk tall and feel confident no matter what your bathroom situation may be, and your tummy troubles.
We're going to get sued by Tecovas one of these days. Finally, joining us tonight, we've got Jared.
The following parody service announcement is from the Virtual Tailgate. From last week's podcast, we briefly mentioned a form of alcohol consumption through one's bodily orifice. Rest assured, we do not encourage this method of alcohol consumption. Unless money is on the line, making easy cash off of friends and neighbors by proving you can consume alcohol from where the sun does not shine will make you a hit at parties and future community events, such as Little League games or Foxy Boxing, and you'll be considered a folk hero among your friends and family. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And you'll have that money that folds and don't jiggle jiggle, and you'll be glad you did. The more you know.
Well, you get your butt beat.
Hey, no one mentioned that.
Be sure to join the tailgate on Facebook at Virtual Tailgate or email us at virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
So real quick, but before we get started, you actually cut it out of the show? I got to start listening to our podcast a little more often.
I have no idea.
Oh, okay, good.
Andrew's like, I don't even know what made it in the show last week.
I give it to the AIs now, man. They just make a good show for us.
Well, God willing, they kept it in. That's right. That's going to win us to $10,000 on America's Funniest Videos, if that's still around.
All right. Well, moving on here. So despite all of the bodily function jokes that we've got going on, there was football played last weekend, and we've come in and looked at the performance of some of the teams, maybe some surprise positions and surprise players in our Players of the Week this week. David, you want to kick us off with who your outstanding Player of the Week and deserving of a Virtual Tailgate game ball was?
I do. So I'm going down to Chapel Hill, where Omarion Hampton for the Tar Heels, the running back, carried the ball 25 times, 210 yards, 3 scores. Hampton now leads the ACC, ranks 4th nationally in rushing yards. This is a game where it was tight early on. The Tar Heels pulled away late against North Carolina Central. Omarion Hampton, a huge part of that, putting together a monster season. And then he can now go have some Gatorade and enjoy his day.
Hell of a job, David. My game ball goes to Antron Powell Ryland, the defensive lineman for Virginia Tech. Matched a school record of 4 sacks in a single game. Second time he's done that in his career as a Hokie. Had 7 total tackles. Also had 2 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery. With him joining, the first time he got the 4 sacks, he joined against Wake Forest. He had Bruce Smith and Morgan Rohan and J.C. Price keeping him company. And now after his second four sack game, he now has just him and Bruce Smith as the only ones to ever done that. So very impressive overall against ODU.
Right.
All right, Andrew, who do you have for your game? Well, I think you've got somebody who there was a little bit of some excitement in their game that you picked from.
Yeah, Eli Holstein from the Pitt Panthers had led the pretty dramatic comeback for Pitt on Saturday against West Virginia. He engineered 2 back-to-back TD drives of 75 yards and 77 yards to help Pitt get the late come from behind victory in the backyard brawl. Overall, he was 21 for 30 with 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 59 rushing yards, which led the team on the day. That was good enough to not only land him ACC Quarterback of the Week honors, but also ACC Rookie of the Week honors. So way to go, Eli.
All right, and for my game ball this week, I'm going just like Jared. I'm going to the defensive side of the ball with Xavier Carlton, the linebacker from Cal. Name that probably haven't heard. One, because Cal's just joined the ACC this year, and two, because Xavier isn't a player that makes the stat line in a big way most games, but sort of a coming out party for him, at least in this one game last weekend against San Diego State. Ended up with 5 total tackles, 2.5 sacks. You really are one of the key contributors to the Golden Bears' really defensive performance against the Aztecs. Held them out of the end zone until the fourth quarter. Really a dominating 31-10 victory over the Aztecs, sending the Golden Bears to 3-0 on the season. Not a place that I think we thought they were going to be, and starting to maybe just some slight rumors of, is there like a sleeper spot for the Golden Bears in the ACC this season? We'll talk about that a little bit later.
As long as, of course, they can control their fans.
How can you not be romantic about college football?
I mean,
should I tell everyone that the reason why I picked Xavier was just because I was hoping Andrew would drop that?
It's a high quality clip. I need to rip it so we have it forever.
No. All jokes aside, good performance by Xavier, but an even better performance on the mic by the coach.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to jump into our power rankings here, and as things change each and every week, we do have some changes here in the power rankings. At number 5, we got Syracuse joining the top 5. Why? That's a great question, because they didn't do crap this week. They were on a bye. So without further ado, play the sound clip.
Gatorade, man. Enjoy your day.
2-0, 1-0 in the conference. Number 4, we got Boston College dropping a spot after their tough out-of-conference 27-21 loss. 27-21 loss against Missouri. They are still 1-0 in the conference and 2-1 overall, which leaves a few other teams to say this.
Come on, you damn bird! Come and get me!
Here in the ACC Virtual Tailgate, we love to reward teams for beating up the small, crappier ones. So we reward North Carolina by bumping up 1 spot in our power rankings. Now at number 3, after beating North Carolina Central 45-10, the Tar Heels are 3-0 and still looking for the first ACC action. Number 2, we got the Miami Hurricanes 3-0 overall after just trumping Ball State 62-0. And last but not least, we still have Louisville number 1. They are on a bye. We kept them at 1. I know there's some disagreement about this. Some say that it should be flipped on Miami, but it is what it is, and there's still plenty of season left to remind our voters here on the podcast. Now let's jump down to the bottom 3, and boy, we have quite a bottom 3. Number 15, Stanford jumped up a spot for doing nothing. Man, we are just
Gatorade, man. Enjoy your day.
Cardinals have a game against the Syracuse on Friday night here. Number 16, Wake Forest dropping a spot after their whipping loss 40-6 to Ole Miss. Wake Forest is 1-2 and 0-1 in the conference. Last but not least, oh man, what a fall. We have Florida State still remaining at the bottom, 0-3, 0-2 in conference after the 20-12 loss to the Memphis Tigers at Florida State. There's just not much else to say at this point.
Now, Rock says they kept you at the bottom of the barrel because you absolutely suck.
It is some very dark times, to say the least. But
right.
if it makes anyone feel better, we don't have an honorable mention George Carlin drop this week. So,
yeah, I mean that's where we are in the conference. Florida State, it's kind of amazing. I read this week that they're the first team in the history of the AP poll to start the season ranked in the top 10 and lose their first 3 games all to unranked opponents. That's it really is quite a spectacular fall. Going to be interesting to see what happens this week. That's one of the games we'll be talking about in this week's episode. But first, let's travel down to Death Valley, where the Wolfpack of NC State are coming to town to take on a Clemson team that seems to have kind of been revived with some new life in that big win over App State a couple of weeks ago. NC State has not quite gotten things on track this year. They got back on the winning track against Louisiana Tech, but it wasn't pretty on Saturday. They really haven't had a solid game all season long. Tigers are 8.5-point favorites at home in this one. And it looks to me like all of us are in agreement. Geoff, what is it that we're looking to see here?
Yeah, I mean, I think in this one, it's not so much a statement of what we think Clemson, or at least not for me, of what we think Clemson's bringing into this game, but really what NC State is. And I think you kind of hit on it a little bit with the NC State team. 2-1. Their 2 wins, really not all that impressive. Victory, certainly not by the margin that you would have really want to see out of a team that had top 25 aspirations in the ACC to start the season, and then obviously that Tennessee game. Tennessee's a good team, but if you're a serious team, you can't go get blown out by 40 plus points in any game, no matter how how good of your opponent is. So I think a lot of it for me is just this really a team that we've come to expect to, at least on the defensive side of the ball, bring some consistency, has not put it together. And I think that, for me at least, has me very concerned. Not that I have a lot of confidence in Clemson, but that just really gives me pause for concern in this matchup against the Clemson Tigers. You feel like eventually the Tigers will find some maybe not the level of performance that they're accustomed to, but they will eventually put a game or two together, and they have had the bye to prepare extra for this game, which NC State did, and so it feels like a game that NC State could come out and find their stroke that they haven't had all season, but it feels like it's leaning Clemson's way in this one.
Did anybody like the Wolfpack in this one, or give them a chance?
Vegas doesn't. I mean,
if I were going to give the Wolfpack a chance, it's all around Concepcion. Like, you don't need the best quarterback in the league to be able to throw to him. If you can get the ball in the vicinity, he has the ability to make interesting things happen. The problem that they seem to have that still makes me doubt them is that really he's the only guy who's scoring touchdowns through the air for them. So if you can double team him, then you're going to knock out most of their offense. That's having that one amazing receiver can be a big boon. I think, once again, Geoff and I were talking pre-show about the fact that the NC State quarterback is a transfer portal guy. He was at Coastal Carolina for 4 years. He had a really bad year last year, which is really starting to be that trend of, are the guys who come from the portal really impact players, or are they just people who are hoping to make that final, get that final chance to play somewhere else? So that's kind of why I'm a little bit down on NC State here. But yeah.
He also got hurt last week, right? So In fact, I think I'm reading that the Wolf. Oh, I bet this is why that line moved so much, guys. So this game started at 8.5-point spread in favor of Clemson. It's jumped to 20.5. I think Grayson McCall is not going to start on Saturday. It sounds like true freshman CJ Bailey will be under center for the Wolfpack. And now you can start to see what's going on here.
I don't know. That might actually give me more hope for them, but they definitely need to diversify their offense no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think for Clemson's sake, this is a team that just opening the season away from home against Georgia was always going to be a tough pill to swallow. Clemson, was competitive, at least defensively in the first half, and then just got taken to the woodshed in the second half by the Bulldogs. And I think they're going to spend a lot of time here or in the early going trying to make up for that, to get back on track. Truth is, everything's still in front of them. This is a team that has playoff aspirations. Games like this one at home against the Wolfpack are the kind they've got to win. So we'll see how it goes for them. Another team with some playoff aspirations are the Cardinals of Louisville. We've got Louisville number 1 in our power rankings. They're ranked nationally in the top 20. Team that lost close in the ACC title game a year ago. Geoff Brom seems to have them moving the right direction. They're going to host Georgia Tech, a Yellow Jackets team that's trying to get back on track. They kind of dominated VMI on Saturday in their effort to get back to some winning ways. But this is a chance to really make a statement victory on the road for the Yellow Jackets. And looks like we're kind of all over the place in our picks in this one. The Cardinals are 10-point favorites here at home. Andrew, talk us through what's going to happen.
Yeah, I went with Georgia Tech in the covering the spread on this one, and it's really because they played some good games during their time so far this season. Obviously, beating Florida State is not nearly the feather in their cap that it seemed like at the time, but nonetheless, it was a victory for them. They've had even a close loss to Syracuse. I think that they're a team that's going to be able to hang with most of the teams that they're going to play against this year. I just don't think that they're going to be able to make it quite over the hump. That that -10 almost feels like a good push line to me, but you can't take that bet. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech to at least stay on the right side of a double-digit loss here.
And I actually agree. I think, again, Louisville is the better team. I know we're
you might as well just burn that money, Andrew.
Yep, kiss it goodbye. Oh, geez, yeah. Overall, I just don't see Louisville just running away with it. Georgia Tech's just a tough team. Like they're not going to just lay down. Yeah, they had they kind of had a misstep last time they played, but they're going to find a way to compete against ACC opponents, especially Louisville, where although we have Louisville ranked as the top team in the country in our power rankings, albeit someone over here on the podcast disagrees, I think it's just going to be tight. It's just got that odd feeling. I can't explain it. I'm not going to try to explain it, but I think it's a one-score game at the end of the day.
Now, Geoff, who is by far the best on this show at making these picks, you disagree.
Yeah, I think I think there's a couple of things. This is a little bit of how much does the bye week play into these types of games where they could be a little bit closer. You've got a rested Louisville team playing at home. I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage. I mean, the 10 points. Is it an uncomfortable number from a betting lines perspective? Is Louisville an untested team? Yeah, I mean, definitely from their first two games, they haven't been tested with a team as good as Georgia Tech. But I mean, Georgia Tech is the Florida State win. Not quite what we thought it was to start the season. They had the stumble against Syracuse. Really, the final in that game was not as close as the final score. Really, Syracuse actually tried to give that game away towards the end. So it's a Louisville team with a lot of questions. This is their real the first real test that they have on the season, but also a Georgia Tech team that I think got a little bit exposed in their opportunity to really put their put their mark on the ACC in that game up at Syracuse a couple weeks ago. So I think this is a Georgia Tech team. I think they're the Brink Key's doing a lot of good things down there. I think they're building something that hopefully it can be positive. I just don't think they're quite there yet. On the other hand, I think this is a Louisville team that's got some tools to put together, and the extra week off to have them better rested and at home just kind of aligns to a game that I don't know that it's going to be a blowout, but I think I could see 14, 17 points being the spread in this game.
Yeah, I'm hedging in this one in a way. I almost agree with Andrew and Jared that I think the Yellow Jackets are capable of keeping this close. I think in the end, Louisville at least gets the win. I like this Cardinals team a lot. I think being at home, they've got everything going for them. I like them to win. I can't quite take them to cover. So give me Louisville on the money line. A little bit of a hedge bet. Gonna be a really good one there. One other game that I don't know that it does project to be a good game, but it is an important one. This is the Golden Bears of Cal, Justin Wilcox, and all the cards that they use coming to Tallahassee, Doak Campbell Stadium to take on the Florida State Seminoles. This is a Florida State team that really have been kind of national embarrassments at this point. Losers of 3 straight, plummeting in the rankings. Mike Norvell suddenly out of nowhere on the hot seat. Nobody in the country needs to win any more than Florida State does on Saturday. And Cal is a good team. Cal sitting at 3-0. They've got victories over the Auburn Tigers. They're a team that's really looking to make their mark in a new conference. Fellas, I got a feeling that you do not like the Seminoles' chance in this one.
It's just free money, man. Gotta go for Cal on the money line on this one. I mean, it's not just that Florida State's bad. It's that they're like losing games to beatable teams at home bad. Like they're almost seeming completely lost. It's all the things that we remembered being problematic about DJ Uiagalelei, and yet, except that it's at a different school. Like he wasn't a good enough quarterback to take Clemson to where they needed to go. He's not a good enough quarterback to take FSU where they need to go, and in fact may sink the program here in the next couple of weeks.
Go ahead, Jared.
I was about to say, the one thing I would say this, I was tempted to pick Florida State, especially if it was like a noon kickoff game where that West Coast body is just not quite in tune first thing for the early kickoff for a West Coast team like that. But ESPN really did Florida State no favors with scheduling this game. I believe it's a 7:30 kickoff, which means, again, Cal has time to mentally adjust their bodies that they're on, a decent time, 4:30 kickoff, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock kickoff, whatever it may be, but not that early window feel. And I think they're going to be ready. Cal has not laid down at all. Yeah, they play close games, absolutely. But you know who's not won close games? Florida State. I think Cal just goes ahead and finds a way to get it done. And the nightmare of a season for Florida State continues and go 0-4.
Yeah, I know. I think David's got some other ideas. Maybe he can convince me otherwise, because this is a game. I think, what was it you said, Andrew? It's free money. Is that what you said? And
exactly.
I not so fast, my friend. Because I feel nervous about this game. One, because I feel like at some point Florida State puts a game together. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how at this point. But that at some point, what'd you say, Jared?
Neither do they.
Yeah, neither do they. But at some point, the pieces would come together. Two, is for all of the talk that we've had. We've talked about Cal on this episode more than we've talked about him on any other, just with the the player of the week and the rising in the power rankings and the 3-0 overall. And actually, not the worst 3-0 start to a team. I mean, they've played in the realm of teams that have started off 3-0. They've actually got at least some other Power 5 teams on their resume to start 3-0. So everything is pointing in the direction of the Golden Bears for here. The defense has played very well. DJU, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because Andrew's the only one that can do it right. But I mean, they've played 3 games, 1 TD, 2 picks. I mean, I guess at least he's not throwing interceptions, right? I mean, only 2 interceptions in 3 games, but 1 TD in 3 games. I'm nervous. I'm always nervous picking against Florida State. Just because you fall into the name recognition and not knowing or being used to what a team like Cal is going to bring. Are they for real? Are they not? But it's I go back to I said to myself, Florida State's lost some games. I said they just got manhandled. Scored might not have said it, but it was a bad game they played against Memphis last week. I mean, no doubt about it. Did not look good at all. DJ did not look good. The team looked terrible. The 20-12 final score was not indicative of how bad they played in that game. And I said, do I think that Cal is a better team than Memphis? And I certainly think they're as good as Memphis. So if that's the case, then it logically leads me to say I need to pick the Golden Bears in this game. But I certainly is not one that I'm overly comfortable with. But based on the body of work, I think it's the Golden Bears that you have to pick on the smart side with this one. But David, what do you have in your mind?
Well, I'll tell you this. You guys have not made me feel very good about the pick. I feel like I've said this every single week in picking the Seminoles games. At some point, having more talent than the other team has to matter, right?
But I think you're making an assumption that they have more talent now.
No, they should. On paper, they do. I don't know what's wrong at Florida State.
Neither do they.
Neither do they.
To quote Andrew, neither do they.
I mean, but here's what I think. I think the problem at Florida State, I think Mike Norvell's system depends on having the right quarterback. You saw it with Jordan Travis a year ago, where when he was rolling, those guys got it done. When he went down, it was over. That's what the College Football Playoff Committee knew. It's what really all of us knew, though we might not have wanted to admit it. And it is abundantly clear that DJU is a swing and a miss for Norvell and the Seminoles. I think the question is going to be, at what point do they own that, admit it, and move on? And I think if they can't pull out the victory over Cal on Saturday, that's got to be what's coming here. I think
it's going to be at halftime. I mean, if Florida's, they're 0-2. There is no, okay, we got one more chance. This is it. Like, Florida State's season can end literally right in this game. Because you're not going to come back from an 0-3 start. You can win out your conference. That's probably not going to be enough for top 2. You're done. Your season's over. There's no college football playoff chance at that point. Yeah, we're joking about it right now, and I know we have them dead last in our power rankings, but they theoretically, if they run the table in their conference, they may have a shot to play in the conference championship and still get the college football playoff. But it has to come together right now. I never thought we'd be saying this on a podcast about the ACC, but Cal Florida State is the most important game for Florida State football this year right now. Never thought I'd have to say those words in my life, but that's where we are right now.
And I think that's why I'm just going to take the Seminoles one more time and see what happens. In a way, I think this maybe is a reversion to the mean in this game, where Cal's not quite as good as they've shown so far. FSU can't possibly be as bad as what we've seen. So I'm going to ride one more week with the Seminoles. I'm putting as little money on it as Andrew will let me. But give me the Seminoles. I'll give the 2.5 points at home. And I'm not sure they can right this ship, but maybe they hold off the mutiny for one more week.
This is an FYI for Florida State fans. The Mike Norvell buyout, according to sources, according to Tallahassee.com, is only $65 million. So,
well, luckily the Seminoles have not blown all their money on legal fees.
So
Yeah.
I like. We're looking at where does Florida State get wins. Obviously, it's those 3 non-conference games at the end of the season where they go to South Bend and blow out Notre Dame just because that would be fun. They struggle against Charleston Southern just to make sure that we have a proper Sickos game against Florida and during rivalry week.
God, jeez.
Yes.
Do you think either team's coach will still be with them come that Florida State game?
I don't think Norvell's going to get a free vacation. Not yet. I don't think they can afford to give him a vacation.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that Napier's gone, though. If things,
I'm not sure Napier's going to make it till this show drops.
I mean, I'm surprised he still has a job.
I don't know, guys. But all jokes aside, let's just be honest. These guys are on a fast track to having our dream job, right?
That is true. Fired football coach.
Yep.
Any idea how
dream job is not to be a football coach, is to be a fired football coach.
That's the truth. And do you have any idea how expensive those Christmas trees are that they drag to the curb?
They don't grow in Florida. Literally, they cannot grow in Florida.
He's going to be dragging. Hey, no, they could. I mean, it's called Pinellas. There is a county called Pinellas County because of the pines. Then they cut them all down and replace them with other stuff. But there used to be pines there.
I mean,
Andrew just made it sound like they made a marijuana plant out of it. He's like, they cut it down and they put other stuff up.
well, Soup Dog is buying tickets to the game right now after you said that, Andrew. Nice job.
Florida has one more win than Florida State does. I mean, they got it against Samford, but good on them for that scheduling.
Hey, gotta get those tough ones out of the way first, all right?
All right. Well, shall we talk about a couple other quick fire bets before we get out of here, guys? I'm going to
Fireball.
Absolutely.
I'm going to kick us off here. I'm taking SMU on the money line against TCU. It's only a 2.5 point spread. If I think they're going to cover the spread, I may as well get the extra juice out of going for them to win outright. We know next to nothing about SMU at this point so far, guys. So why not? It's a random non-conference game.
So shout out to Rutgers, Virginia Tech, renewing that Big East rivalry, if we want to call it that. By the way, that free bonus pick, I got Rutgers for the straight up win in that one. But that's not my pick. My pick is Stanford to cover the 9-hook against Syracuse. Friday night game, 7:30. That gives the West Coast team ample amount of time to get their body ready for a game. Stanford played TCU very, very close in their first game. They are not, I think, as bad as we think. And more importantly, I don't think Syracuse is as good as we think as well. You got to remember, this conference has got a lot of middle of the crap teams. We're still trying to figure that out ourselves, and we're going to figure out more of it on Friday. So I got Stanford covering the 9-hook.
And Andrew, I'd like to raise 2 objections here. One is for Jared adding a bonus pick in for his quick fire bets just so he could squeeze 2 picks in. 2 is for totally overlooking the fact that it's supposed to be a quick fire bet segment and going into a full monologue breaking down the game.
I have to give people a reason to believe. And not just that, our show is actually moving along for once. I thought I could stretch it off to 30 plus minutes.
Well, I've got a quick bet. This is the most sure I've ever been on anything we've done on the virtual tailgate. This is a serious bet the mortgage. Syracuse -9 over Stanford. You can take it to the bank.
All right, and for my quick bet, I'm taking BC. Played a strong game, had the lead against Missouri last week. I'm taking the -6.5 for them to take it to Michigan State this weekend.
All right. I think when we get the opposing bets like this, we're going to have to make the 2 hosts actually put something on the line going forward.
Can't take dignity. I don't have any.
I'm willing to. We'll look at our respective fantasy football teams, and we'll put players up. We'll put.
I was thinking that you should just be required to buy the other guy a steak or something. That seems a little bit
No.
safe.
I don't know. I like
In this
David's
economy?
idea. I like David's idea of looping in the fantasy football league of putting
Yeah.
up players.
All right. Here's what I'm looking at Jared's lineup right now to see who I will be claiming. Jared, you can protect 3 players, and then after that,
Well, I think you can have Christian Kirk at this point.
honestly, looking at your team, I don't know after the top 3 if there's anybody I want.
Welcome to my world.
What were you doing?
That's a very enviable position you're in there, David.
I don't know. It's so funny though. David doesn't want the 3 players, and yet I beat him week 1. It's so weird.
That was so long ago though, Jared.
All right,
Well, stop
Brock
living in the
Bowers is
past.
who you're putting up. If Syracuse covers, I get Brock Bowers.
I'm not approving this.
I'll force it through.
Who are
Thank you,
Who are
Mesh.
you? Who are you wagering then, David?
I mean, he needs to tell me somebody he wants. Or it sounds like he's not participating, so I guess I'll lose nothing.
Jeez Louise, you're the worst type of person to deal with in the fantasy football league. Just, oh my God. All right, let me look. How about Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, maybe, actually. No, he doesn't even throw him the ball.
Yeah, it's Jesus, true. I forgot about that. Oh, wow, half your guys are hurt. My gosh.
Yep.
We're about to be sent to prison.
That too. You do have the all convict team going right now, here, bud.
Take his kicker. Take his kicker.
See, you're putting me in a bad spot here, Andrew. If I say no, you make it sound like I don't want an Asian kicker, whereas I just don't want a kicker in general. Please don't put me in that spot.
You
I don't
just
think
tell him that
any
you're
of us
going to take. Tell him that you're going to take
put
Jalen
yourself
Hurts.
in that spot.
Are we going to end this show? Or we're going to drag it on for the next 10 minutes? About
That's
this?
it for the
Don't
virtual
want a kicker at
tailgate.
all.
You can send your questions or comments to virtualtailgate@mediabullcrap.com.
I always remember these 3 rules: never get less than 12 hours sleep.
Always research your opponent's fantasy football team.
Never get involved with the one with the tattoo of a dagger on her body.
Stick to that, and the world is one big selenium mine.
That's ball game.
Isn't that the plot for the newer Ghostbusters film?
Yes.